When people talk about wealth creation, they often think about working harder, putting in more hours, or managing more people. But if you look closely at the modern world, the biggest fortunes, the most scalable businesses, and the deepest freedom do not come from managing armies of employees or working yourself to exhaustion. They come from creating products that scale effortlessly, and nowhere is this more powerful than in code. Code is the purest form of leverage humanity has ever created. When you write software, you're capturing intelligence, logic, and creativity in a form that can be replicated infinitely at almost zero cost. A single line of code, once written, doesn't need to be rewritten every time it runs. It executes automatically, flawlessly, and tirelessly, whether it runs 10 times or 10 million times. This is leverage. It's effort that compounds without requiring your continuous presence. Think about the traditional way of building wealth. You had to hire more employees, open more offices, and expand your physical footprint. If you ran a factory, scaling meant buying more machines and hiring more workers. Each unit of growth required a proportional increase in labor and capital. This was the old world. In contrast today, when someone builds a piece of software, an app, a platform, a digital service, the distribution cost is almost nothing. You don't need a warehouse for every new customer. You don't need to hire a new employee for every transaction. The same code that serves one customer can serve a billion. That's why a small team of developers can create something used by the entire planet. WhatsApp had fewer than 60 employees when Facebook bought it for billions of dollars, yet it was serving hundreds of millions of users. That's the power of infinite leverage through code. But code isn't just for programmers. Even if you're not writing software, you can design products that embody the same principle. A product is simply a crystallization of knowledge, creativity, and problem solving into something that can be repeated at scale. It could be a physical product that's manufactured once and distributed endlessly, or it could be a digital tool that lives in the cloud. The point is that products exist independently of your time. They continue creating value even when you're not there. That's very different from services, which usually require your active participation. If you're a lawyer or a consultant, your income depends on the hours you put in. If you're sick or tired, your output drops. But if you build a product, whether it's software, a book, or even a course, it works for you while you sleep. This is the essence of leverage, separating your input from the output. Code and products are machines that multiply your effort without multiplying your labor. You put in intense, creative energy up front, and then the system runs on its own. Over time, it becomes an asset that compounds. A product built once can generate revenue for years. A piece of software can run endlessly, updated and refined, but always scaling without demanding more of your time. In this way, code and products liberate you from the trap of trading hours for money. The beauty of this form of leverage is that it doesn't require permission. In the old days, if you wanted to scale, you needed capital from banks or investors. You needed factories, distribution channels, and armies of workers. Today, anyone with a laptop and an internet connection can build something that scales to millions. This is why small teams, or even individuals, can outcompete giant corporations. The leverage built into code and product creation is asymmetric. It allows the individual to punch far above their weight. When you understand this, you realize that learning to build either through coding, designing, or product creation is one of the most valuable skills in the world. It means you can create leverage that works for you continuously without ongoing cost. It means you can build once and benefit forever. And that's why code and products are not just tools of the digital age, but the very engines of wealth creation in the modern world. They represent freedom, scale, and infinite possibility, all captured in a form that doesn't tire, doesn't complain, and doesn't stop. So when I say code and product are infinite leverage, what I mean is this: learn to build something that runs without you. Learn to capture your creativity and intelligence in a form that can scale endlessly. because once you do, you step out of the economy of time and into the economy of scale, and that's where real wealth, real freedom, and real impact are created. In the old world, attention was scarce and carefully guarded by gatekeepers. If you wanted to speak to millions of people, you had to go through television networks, radio stations, or publishers. Someone had to approve your message. You had to fit into their schedules, their formats, and their business models. But today, the internet has completely rewritten the rules. Anyone, anywhere can publish an idea, a video, a podcast, or a tweet, and it can travel across the globe instantly. This is a form of leverage that's available to everyone, and yet very few people fully understand its power. Media compounds attention because every piece of content you create is an asset that works for you forever. Consider a single tweet. You write it in a minute. It spreads to thousands or even millions of people. Some forget it, but some remember. It might get screenshotted, saved, or even turned into a quote that outlives you. That one act of creation continues to generate influence long after you've moved on. A podcast episode recorded once can be listened to 1,000,000 times. A YouTube video can keep attracting new viewers for years. This is the compounding nature of media. Your work doesn't vanish the moment you stop talking. It lives on, silently spreading your ideas while you sleep. Think about traditional communication. You give a lecture, and when it ends, it's gone. You speak to a group, and when the words leave your mouth, only those present benefit. But when you record that same lecture and upload it to the internet, it becomes immortal. It will continue reaching people long after you've forgotten it. That's why media is leverage, because it separates the effort from the reach. One unit of work, one moment of creativity, creates an asset that multiplies itself endlessly. But there's something even more subtle at play. Attention compounds. The more someone sees your work, the more they remember you, the more they trust you, the more they want to hear from you again. Each piece of media builds on the previous one. The first podcast might reach 100 people. The next one might reach 1,000. Over time, the trust, recognition, and credibility grow. This is compounding in its purest form. Small, consistent efforts that build into something vast and unstoppable. Media compounds because it builds a relationship with an audience over time, and that relationship can scale to infinity without requiring more of your personal time. In a way, media is the new printing press, the new broadcasting system, the new global amplifier. But the difference is that no one controls it anymore. You don't need permission to publish. You don't need a producer or an editor to approve you. You don't need to fit into a 30-second slot on primetime television. You just need to hit publish. The distribution networks YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, podcasts are already in place. Billions of people are waiting. All you have to do is show up. This is why so many individuals today build personal brands that rival entire companies. A single creator, speaking authentically, can attract more attention than corporations with entire marketing departments. The leverage lies in the fact that once you capture attention through media, you can redirect it anywhere, to a product, to a cause, to a business, or simply to spread an idea. Attention is the currency of the modern world, and media is the printing press that mints it. Of course, media rewards authenticity. In a world where anyone can publish, people don't just want information, they want connection. That's why the most successful media creators aren't necessarily the most polished, but the most real. When you speak your truth and capture it in media, it resonates, and resonance spreads faster than perfection. Over time, this creates a body of work that compounds in influence. Even if each piece only makes a small impact, the accumulated library becomes unstoppable. Media is not just about reach, it's about legacy. Imagine leaving behind 100 essays, 1,000 tweets, or a series of podcasts. These continue to teach, inspire, and influence people long after you've stopped creating. Just as books written centuries ago still shape us, your media can live beyond you. That's compounding in the truest sense, ideas captured once, returning value forever. The best part is that anyone can start. There are no barriers. You don't need capital, employees, or investors. You don't even need permission. You just need to speak, to write, to record, to share. Every time you publish, you're planting a seed in the digital soil. Some seeds sprout quickly, some slowly, but over time the garden grows. And if you stay consistent, that garden compounds into a forest of attention, influence, and impact. So when I say media compounds attention, what I mean is this: every piece of content is a force multiplier. Every word you capture and distribute works for you forever. Media is not just entertainment, it is leverage. And if you learn to wield it, if you learn to consistently produce and share, you can scale your voice infinitely. Media doesn't just spread ideas, it immortalizes them. That's the compounding power of attention in the digital age. For most of history, leverage required permission. If you wanted to build a factory, you needed a banker to lend you money. If you wanted to publish a book, you needed a publisher to approve your manuscript. If you wanted to broadcast your voice, you needed access to a radio station or a television network. Every step required a gatekeeper to nod their head and let you through. That was the price of scale. Without capital, without connections, without someone in power saying yes, you were stuck. This is why very few people had leverage, and why most people spent their entire lives working under those who did. But the internet has rewritten that script. Today, the most powerful forms of leverage are permissionless. Code, media, and digital products don't require approval. You don't need a license to write software. You don't need a producer to upload a podcast. You don't need a distributor to publish a tweet or a video. You don't need a boss to tell you when to start. You just start. That's the beauty of permissionless leverage. It's available to anyone who is willing to create. The old world was one of gatekeepers. The new world is one of open doors. And those who recognize this, those who act on it, have an enormous advantage. Because in this world, the biggest opportunities are not handed out, they are seized. No one is waiting to discover you. No one is going to choose you. But you don't need them to. You can choose yourself. You can build, publish, and distribute directly to the world. And if what you create has value, the world will respond. Think about how many lives have changed because of this shift. A teenager uploads a song to the internet and becomes a global star without ever signing a record deal. A writer posts essays online, builds a following, and suddenly has an audience larger than any newspaper. A developer creates an app in their bedroom, and it's downloaded by millions across the planet. None of them asked for permission. None of them waited for approval. They simply created, shared, and let the leverage of technology do the rest. Permissionless leverage wins because it compounds freedom. When you don't need approval, you don't waste energy convincing others. You don't pitch endlessly to investors. You don't beg publishers to read your manuscript. You don't wait in line hoping someone in authority will say yes. Instead, you spend your energy creating, you put your work out into the world, and the world itself becomes your feedback loop. If the work resonates, it spreads. If it doesn't, you learn and try again. But either way, you move forward on your own terms. This kind of leverage is incredibly asymmetric. In the old model, most people couldn't even get started. The gatekeepers filtered out almost everyone. In the new model, anyone can start, but only the best rise. The filter is no longer at the door, it's in the marketplace of ideas. That might sound intimidating, but it's actually liberating, because it means there is no one stopping you except yourself. If you're not building, if you're not sharing, if you're not creating, it's not because someone said no. It's because you haven't started, and starting has never been easier. The permissionless nature of modern leverage also means that success scales globally. A single person with a laptop can reach millions, even billions, without ever asking anyone for a favor. This is why one developer can compete with a corporation. This is why one creator can attract more attention than entire advertising firms. The leverage is built into the medium itself, and when you don't have to wait for permission, you can move faster than institutions. Speed itself becomes an advantage. What's remarkable is that permissionless leverage doesn't just create wealth, it creates freedom. Because you are not beholden to bosses, investors, or gatekeepers, you retain control over your work. You choose what to build, how to build, and when to share. That independence is priceless. It means your work reflects your authentic self, not someone else's agenda. And that authenticity, in turn, makes your work more resonant. People are drawn to creators who act without filters, who express truth directly. Permissionless leverage doesn't just free the creator, it strengthens the creation. Of course, with freedom comes responsibility. No one is going to hold your hand. No one is going to tell you when you're ready. No one is going to guarantee success. You have to learn, iterate, and persist on your own. But the trade is worth it, because once you realize that no one is stopping you, you stop waiting and start building. And the sooner you start, the sooner the compounding begins. So when I say permissionless leverage wins, what I mean is that the old world of waiting is gone. The new world rewards doing. You don't need to ask for capital. You don't need to beg for approval. You don't need to wait for someone to open the door. The doors are already open. The distribution channels are global. The tools are free, and the audience is infinite. The only question left is whether you will step through.